Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Lyss. I'm one of your regular hosts, and this is probably the most excited I've sounded in about 3 hours since that opening period. But we are here to cover the game two, a loss to the Vegas Golden Knights in the Winnipeg Jets Golden Knights series. I am here with my wonderful co-host Brady Chalice, as always, our friend from the Little Flight podcast. Good Lord, there are going to be a lot of mumble jumbles tonight. Connor Hrabchak, and I'm also joined by honorary Winnipeg Jets fan, Mr. Mike Bartner from MB on Hockey. Mbon, whatever you want to call our dear friend here, and he's gonna help us keep the vibes up tonight because I think a few of us are feeling not so great. If you're here live in the chat, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate sticking it out with us and staying up for this little bit of a stinker. But before we get going, if you want to bet, get in on the action and make your bet with Sports Interaction. Every hit, every shot, every goal. If 2 weeks ago you had bet that the Winnipeg Jets would have the most dominant first four periods of any of the opening playoff series and then drop an egg and finish 1-1 in this series and people would be mad about it, you probably have a lot of money right now. With competitive odds, the best live in play, and more ways than ever to get into the game like Minute Madness, our exclusive game with so many opportunities to win by the minute. Download the app in Ontario using the QR code that you can see at the bottom of the screen or head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly, especially during the playoffs. Things can get pretty crazy. Take it easy out there. Look for resources where they're available. That's my big spiel. Hopefully that's the longest I talk because I know we all have a lot of thoughts on this game tonight. So we'll be breaking it all down for you. If you're live in the chat right now, please make sure to like the stream. We really appreciate the support. Feel free to share your thoughts, negative or positive, especially the positive ones, because we could probably use them. But to get things started off, why don't we try and keep the vibes a little bit up? Now I'll throw it to Brady first. Brady, what were your thoughts on the opening 20 minutes of that game?
Oh man, the opening 20 minutes, that feels like a lifetime ago. Honestly, great start to the game. The first period, Jets kind of came out and played pretty much the same kind of style of game that they played in the first game against the Golden Knights. Heavily outshot them. Things were looking good. They got the first goal. Everything was kind of going our way. The main thing I really took away from that period was things were starting to get rough, and I got a little bit worried that kind of similar to the Calgary Flames game that the Jets played near the end of the season there, that the Jets might get a little bit too caught up in everything else, the extra curriculars that are going on. But I thought they had a fantastic start to the game. I looked over to my girlfriend and said, I'm confident. I'm feeling optimistic. This is a different team. And then they showed us the team we saw for probably, a couple months coming near the end of the season. So yeah, I'll save it there. That was my thoughts on the first. The first period looked real good. All around, I would say. I didn't have any notable bad things. The reffing was kind of all over the place, but that's a whole other conversation. How about you? How about you guys? Connor, what about you? How are you feeling on that first period?
So the first period, I was actually sitting with people. I told them it felt like the fourth period of game one. It was just a continuation of everything that was going right. But the most notable thing was the top line was amazing in game one. Pierre-Luc Dubois was firing. Kyle Connor was making moves. In game one, in period one,
Mark
Kyle
Scheifele
Connor
was
was
there.
making moves. Mark
He was
Scheifele
there.
was there. Exactly. Period one, Kyle Connor was making moves. He was undressing defenders. He was making plays. That just went away for the back 40 minutes of this game. And I think that was the difference because the Jets got depth goals. They got goals from Adam Lowry and Kevin Stenlund, but the top line was just invisible for periods 2 and 3. And against Vegas, if your top players aren't going to be your best players, you're signing your own death warrant.
Oh,
So
absolutely. No,
the first period
100%.
was 4 lines were rolling. But then the top line, and even the second line to an extent, just kind of disappeared for the back 40. But that the first 20 was very, very promising. I thought, oh my God, the Jets are going to come back up 2-0. This is going to be great. And then, everything fell apart.
Speaking of promising, Mike, what about the save of the year that we saw in that first period?
Absolutely insane. I thought for sure it was a goal. I was like, why are they calling it not in? His glove was clearly in. At first, I didn't even realize that he caught the puck. It was absolutely insane. And then right after that, he obviously had the head save where he was bleeding immediately after. So yeah, first period, Connor Hellebuyck maybe didn't see a ton of action, but he was fantastic.
And I want to add on to there just to kind of talk about how the Jets were just a completely different team in that first period. Right after Connor Hellebuyck gets that shot to the mask, and is bleeding, the Jets did not allow a shot against for the next 7 minutes. Like that is what one thing that we really talked about for last game was how the Jets like kind of gave Connor Hellebuyck a game where he didn't have to be the Connor Hellebuyck that we all know and love. And it felt like they were, again, kept returning the favor. Again, going back to what Connor said, it felt like the fourth period of that last game. It was fantastic to see them, like, actually, stand up for the goalie. I mean, I feel like you got to know at that point that, your goalie might be a little bit rattled. I mean, a 96-mile-an-hour slap shot to the face, regardless of the eyebrow being cut, is going to probably rattle you a little bit. So I wanted to commend, before we get into the negative stuff, that was one thing I wanted to add on the positive side of things. That was really good. But yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Well, I mean, while we're on the positive, and I think I want to talk about this before I guess it kind of correlates with a lot of what we want to say about the Jets, but we want to talk goaltending. Brossoit definitely had a bounce back performance today compared to what we saw last game. Not that he was terrible last game, but I was listening to Kenny and Rennie, our good friends, of course. And Sean made a really good point about how if they were to have started someone else, that was obviously a big discussion around a lot of people, Aiden Hill, Jonathan Quick, what are we going to get up in there? I think it would have sent the wrong message to the team to start someone else, because the Vegas Golden Knights were stinky last game. They were all horrible. They were so bad. And if you change the goalie, it makes it look like, hey man, it was on him. But it wasn't. It was on their offense and, their big lines, who were certainly a lot better tonight. So I think Brossoit knew that this game was extremely important for him, and he played a lot better. Not that the Jets were, terrific, fantastic in a lot of different areas, but if he had played the exact same way that he had played on Tuesday, I think the Jets score a couple more.
For sure. Yeah, I think it probably was the right decision to go back with Brossoit again. And I guess he showed why. But I also don't think that the Jets tested him that much tonight. Like I felt like they did what they could to get some decent shots on here and there. I mean, the goals that they scored were, a point shot tip, which that can go in on any goalie, and then a really nice tip in front from Kevin Stenlund. So like, I don't know. Like, this game wasn't a game where I felt like Brossoit was perfect or anything like that. I think the Jets really struggled to get a lot of chances in the middle of the slot. And I don't think that Brossoit needed to be fantastic tonight, although I do think he did play a lot better.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, let's get into a little bit of the weeds here and talk about a couple things, and to, keep it fun and make it exciting. Why doesn't everyone come up with their underperformer of the game? This is sponsored by STPN, your STPN underperformer of tonight's game. I'll throw it to you first, Mike. Who did you watch tonight and say, yeah, that's not what I was looking for?
Kind of an obvious one, but Mark Scheifele. Obviously, first period, very good, but the final two periods, horrible defensively, literally caught sleeping. I always hear about how bad defensively Mark Scheifele is. I really got an up-close and personal experience of Mark Scheifele trying to play defense. And just overall in the final two periods, the top line as a whole was just not good enough. So I think Mark Scheifele, he gave you that. You really thought he finally showed up in the first period. Then the final two, he just really collapsed and was a big disappointment.
Oh, yep, absolutely. I think that might be a common denominator, but I will challenge everyone to come up with something different. So, Connor, who is your SDPN underperformer of the game?
I really don't want to have to come up with someone different, because it'd be easy for all four of us to just say Mark Scheifele. But I'll go Blake Wheeler. I wanted to pick someone from that second forward line. Blake Wheeler had, I thought, a fantastic game one. Brady, I know you were kind of ragging on him game one. We saw that one a little differently. I thought he was good. But he had a few assists. He had a goal. And then this game, it just seemed like his legs weren't there. He was turning the puck over a lot on entry at the blue line. And when that second line isn't moving the puck well, they're just not effective at all. There was one tactical adjustment that I saw Vegas make. Shout out to Winnipeg Chief on Twitter. He actually tweeted this out, and I hadn't realized it. I hadn't realized that Vegas had made this switch. But Vegas typically plays a 1-2-2 in the neutral zone, and they switched to a 1-3-1 to start the second period. right
And
when
it,
the Jets
it
started playing
messed up
bad.
everything.
The Jets have struggled against a 1-3-1 neutral zone forecheck all year. They have not figured it out. And if Vegas has figured out that that's their weakness, players like Blake Wheeler and
They're
Vladislav
done.
Nemestikov, who can't really skate, that line is cooked. So that's something to watch for game 3. But Blake Wheeler, because of that switch to the 1-3-1 by Vegas, that's my underperformer of the night.
Yeah, definitely. Brady, what's yours?
I sat here this entire time just trying to think of anybody else, but I really can't. I really can't. And I said this before we got on here. I said this to you guys, but I am going to tear a strip off of Mark Scheifele. Also, to be clear, I was only upset with how Wheeler was used on the power play last game. That was my main issue with last game. And I did think he had a good game. But anyways, that's not the point. I think that top line as a whole, other than I think Kyle Connor had a pretty decent game. There's a lot of things I still struggle with in his game. His, playing on the boards, this and that. I didn't like the fact that Pierre-Luc Dubois wasn't really driving the net as strongly as I had hoped, or as strongly as we saw last game. But Mark Scheifele is you can pin two of the most important goals in this game. The I believe it was the second and third one. Let me just make sure. No, it was the first one and the third one. The first one was brutal. So basically what happened was Mark Scheifele and Pierre-Luc Dubois decided to take the longest shifts ever. I just want to remind everyone that at the start of the year, Rick Bowness was yelling that, the top guys are taking too long of shifts. And that was when they were taking minute-long shifts. This shift by Pierre-Luc Dubois and Mark Scheifele was 1 minute and 57 seconds long. So sure. When this happens, when I get upset about how this goal was scored, people will say, oh, well, they're at the end of a long shift, they're tired. Get the fuck off the ice. I'm sorry. Get off the ice. There is no reason why Mark Scheifele can be in the middle of the slot, literally just standing there, doing absolutely nothing, watching as if he's got popcorn in his, in his other hand, just watching as William Karlsson comes in and just takes the shot and just rips one right above as the puck is bouncing around. Here's the thing. I'm not even, upset the fact that he wasn't able to clear the puck or this and that. It's just get in the way. You just need to put your body in between the puck and the net, or in between the player and the puck. And Mark Scheifele just stood there and just watched as if the puck was going to come there. He was playing like a table hockey player. Like he could only go up and down the ice and couldn't go left and right. And then the third goal, a draw that he doesn't win in the defensive zone. And then he immediately loses Chandler Stevenson. And the issue, the big issue here is he's trying to tie up the stick, but he doesn't move his feet. Watch the goal back. He does not move his feet after taking the first two initial strides just to get some momentum. This, if you want to be a top line center on any team, if you want to be a franchise player, if this I have to remind everyone all the time, Mark Scheifele is this guy that we have talked about, he's the hockey nerd, he's the guy who at some point everyone was like, oh, he was saying he wants to be the next Crosby.
He's a freaking student of the game.
He's a student of the game. What are you talking about? It is a joke. I'm sorry I have to go off here, but those two goals just scream to me, I don't care enough. I don't care about my teammates. I don't care about my goalie, and I don't care about it right now. This team, all as a whole tonight, played like they were at the blackjack table till 2 a.m. yesterday. And Mark Scheifele is at the top of the list. I'm sorry to say the same player as everyone else, but that was just atrocious. In a game where you have all the momentum, and we know how badly the Jets struggle when the other teams get momentum. Just
no, definitely.
Absolutely brutal, man. Just brutal.
No, I 100% agree, and I think it's rightful in this scenario. And we are a fan-driven show for the fans, and we're gonna voice what the fans want to hear, and that's exactly what everyone is feeling tonight. And like you said, it's just in a game where you have the control and your line is contributing to that control, and you just step off, and it looks like you don't even care. People get frustrated. My SDPN underperformer of the game is Rick Bowness. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the different lines that I did not like the deployment of tonight. I thought they underutilized the hell out of the Adam Lowry line tonight, which is if you would have heard me say this like 3 months ago, I'd be like, that's not me. That I would never say that because I am a chronic Adam Lowry is used too much. But I thought as fantastic as they were last game, they were super instrumental to shutting down some really key offensive players for Vegas. We know that Vegas moved Eichel and Stone together, and there was nothing that happened with the Adam Lowry with them on the ice. That line had like a lot less time than the Mark Scheifele line did tonight. Normally I'd be okay with that because I like putting out the offensive like firepower lines to try and generate some more when you're not when you're behind and you just score some goals. I really hate it when people take too defensive of an approach when you need some offensive firepower, but there was nothing coming from that line tonight. It was like they were playing hot potato with the puck. The puck management was abysmal in the second and third period from that first line in particular. And also the second line, I thought Vlad Nemestikov was very disappointing tonight. A couple of people in the chat mentioned that they liked his game tonight. I disagree. But I thought that the usage was weird tonight. And like I can't remember which one of you mentioned it. I'm so all over the place right now because of how just like weirdly fired up I am in like the worst ways possible. But like the line changing was horrendous tonight. Like there was just so much weird bench management I feel like going on. It's like something weird happened in the second intermission the first intermission, and I fully agree that the 1-3-1 is a big piece of that too. There's one game I remember in particular, it was my first ever solo stream on SDPN and it was against Washington, and I was like, oh god, what am I going to talk about? But it was like a textbook game that you would show to like a minor hockey team of like what not to do when a team is playing trap defense, because the Jets were horrific on zone entries on that particular trap of the 1-3-1, and this was like giving flashbacks to that game where it was just absolutely no controlled possession going into the zone. God, they need Nikolai back so badly. And I'm so confused with that whole situation. I don't even know. Like, I feel like I can't even talk about it because I just feel like there's so much weirdness going on there that I don't even know. But yeah, Rick Bowness kind of gets my weird underperformer of the game here because I wasn't a huge fan. Connor, do you have any thoughts on the Adam Lowry line tonight and what you saw from them?
I thought they were the best forward line. Like the fourth line was good. They kept getting thrown out in weird situations as well, to kind of further your point there. But hey, they scored a goal. You can't really ask much more of the fourth line when they chip in a goal in a playoff game on the road. But the Adam Lowry line was the best line because the top two lines just could not get through Vegas's trap defense. And the third line can actually could and can make things happen when they just dump the puck in and use their size and physicality to get the puck back, get the puck to the point. Offense generates from there, right? The top two lines were trying to carry the puck in. It clearly wasn't working, and they were spending a lot of time playing defense. Just to kind of round out this underperformer of the game, Top Line Media is in the chat hammering the table for Neil Pionk. I just want to say that I do agree Neil Pionk did have a bad game. I also want to highlight the fact that I think they demoted him to start the third period. They went Sandberg, Pionk, and Dylan Schmidt. So yeah, Pionk, to further your puck management topic there, he was very, very bad in his own zone. Lots of turnovers.
He's
Lots
allergic
of
to
just
an
chipped,
exit pass.
yeah, lots of just chips. The broadcast was like praising the Jets for chipping the puck out in game one, but in this game it just didn't work because they'd be tired. They'd chip the puck out and Vegas would come right back and they'd still be tired and mistakes would happen, or they would just ice the puck. And that happened a lot this game too. But I saw Top Line Media in the chat. I just wanted to point that out, that I also think Neil Pionk had a bad game.
I'm just looking at this box score here. So if we want to look a little bit of time on ice, this might be the most tight I've seen 2, 3, 4 for lines for usage this year. The first line had 20 minutes each, kind of. Pierre-Luc Dubois notably a little bit less. Mark Scheifele cracked 20 minutes, thank God. But the Adam Lowry line 15 minutes, the fourth line 11 minutes, the Vlad Nemestikov line 15 minutes. Like what's the reason for that? Like I don't know if I'll just throw it to the general public on this. Did anyone particularly notice anything with how the Jets tried to react a little bit to the Stone line being a little bit more explosive tonight?
I think that this was actually just generally I think Bruce Cassidy played his lineup a little bit better this game. Like last game, he kind of played it like numbers wise, like he wanted to have his top line against the Jets' third line, and then I guess this game he realized that Adam Lowry's line is actually more of like a second line for the Jets, and he kind of hard matched from what I can see here, as much as he could against what was it, the second line, the Nemestikov, Wheeler, and Nino line. And I think that that line just didn't have it tonight. Like a lot of the lines, there's a lot of things you could say about all of them. But I think the second line very clearly, in my opinion, was the like standout least good of all of them. It felt like they didn't really have a ton going. Nino Niederreiter was banging and crashing, which, you know, I can appreciate in a game where you lose, but you know, if that's going to be your second line, you need a little bit more out of them. And returning to the first line, it's just like, you know, I had some questions putting this line together. I've had some questions in regards to putting Scheifele and Connor back together, just in regards to, you know, that line needs to be able to generate in order to justify its existence, because you have a couple players on there who are not the best in the defensive zone. And, you know, if they aren't playing their best in their defensive zone, you need to at least be covering up for it on the other end of the ice. And tonight, like, I still do think they created decently well. Again, like, how many shots did Kyle Connor have tonight? Like, he could have had more than a few goals in that first period alone. But man, like, just the puck management. I can't remember who it was who touched on it, but the puck management was just atrocious almost all around from that top six. It was just frustrating, man. It was just so frustrating. I don't have anywhere else to go from this, but it's just.
That's all good. I think this is a good time for me to tell you guys a little bit about some of the links that you might be seeing in the chat right now from SDPN, from Brady. Right now during the playoffs, all of the, you know, all three of us, Game Over Edmonton and Toronto and Winnipeg, of course, are raising money for Alphabet Sports Collective throughout all of the playoffs, as long as we are sticking around for, hopefully a little bit longer for us. Alphabet Sports Collective creates a safe and inclusive environment in hockey for folks of all sexual identities and gender expressions through education, community building, and mobilization. You can donate to Alphabet Sports Collective using any of the links that you see in the chat. This cause is very important to us, so please check it out and educate yourselves a little bit on what they do and how important they are to the hockey community, and donate if you're willing and able. So we'll be dropping the links a couple more times throughout the rest of the stream. But as we keep going, I want to talk a little bit about Vegas, because I think we would be, you know, it would be foolish of us not to talk a little bit about their key players. And I, not to plug, you know, whatever. I had an interview on CBC yesterday, and they're like, "What do you think you're going to see from Vegas on Thursday?" And I was like, I think their good players are going to be good. And I was like, this makes no sense. But then I had to explain myself a little bit, where their best players were not their best players on Tuesday, and I thought their best players were their best players tonight. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
For me, obviously, yeah, their big guy showed up. For a guy that really showed up for me and was kind of their MVP is William Karlsson. I thought he was really the only one generating chances in that first period. I think maybe it was the first period or the second. He had the penalty kill breakaway. And then obviously he ends up getting on the board in the second period. I thought he was their real MVP this game. Obviously Eichel and Stone stepped it up, but yeah, overall you finally saw their big guys step up with a team like that. That's not really that deep at the forward core. It's kind of something they need to do to win.
100%. That last Stone goal, or the Nate Schmidt goal, if I may, that deflection again, Connor Hellebuyck would have had it. It was an unfortunate stick, but this is such a weird thing to bring up, but the way Mark Stone celebrated after that, just like full screaming, slam into the boards, like, I just felt like the vibes were so much better for the Vegas Golden Knights, and that's not what I want. That's the opposite of what I want, actually. But I just feel like him getting progressively better is obviously what we were expecting, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, sometimes I'm silly and I forget how damn good this player is. And when he was essentially a non-factor in game one, I was like, whatever. And tonight I'm like, great. Now when I close my eyes, all I can see is Mark Stone, because God, that guy's good. So I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts they want to make sure they bring up about some of those important Vegas players.
Yeah, Stone, game one was ugly from Mark Stone. Like, he looked slow. He looked gas. He still played over 20 minutes. Bruce Cassidy ran him into the ground, even though he hadn't played in 3 months. But he did not look like the Mark Stone. And then tonight, obviously, it's easy to say he looked like Mark Stone because he had 2 goals. But he was also making defensive plays. He was taking pucks off of defenders. And that's what Mark Stone does, is he gets it on the forecheck and he just steals pucks. And he's one of the most defensively responsible wingers in the entire league. And that's what stood out to me. Obviously, that one goal off the rush was kind of just a tap in. He goes to the net. Nice pass. and he just taps it in for the goal. The second one goes off of Nate Schmidt. Those aren't really like, oh my God, Mark Stone is the most talented player ever. But you could really tell that the defensive ability was there. He was moving a lot better today, and a healthy Mark Stone makes Vegas so much better, so much better. And Jack Eichel as well. I feel like he had the puck on his stick a lot more tonight. He ended up with a deflection goal as well. But it's easy to say that these two players are great because they are, but they were way more noticeable in this game than they were in game one.
Yeah, I also want to give a little bit of a shout out for the second game in a row to Chandler Stevenson, this time for different reasons. I thought he played phenomenally for the Golden Knights tonight. He's kind of riding shotgun with Stone on that line, and it just felt like every single time that the Jets were getting hemmed in their zone, it was that Stone and Stevenson line. Obviously, it's easy to point out the guy who has 2 points in this game, and a key 2 points, but I just felt like every single time that there were issues that the Jets were facing, it was at the hand of Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone. So I do love Mark Stone, and I love expressive Mark Stone. I hate it when it's against my team. But Chandler Stevenson was cool as a cucumber today, and absolutely kicked our ass, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. And can you imagine Logan Stanley and Jack Roslovic for Mark Stone? Never forget. Anyways, that's besides the point.
Don't bring
Don't
that
even
up
do
right
this.
now.
That's
Don't.
legendary. That is
I
legendary.
want to talk about the vibes. Okay, so this is my turn to go on a little bit of a rant here. And it's the kind of thing where when we had Marat on our episode at the very end of the season, he talked a little bit about aggregate data and how it sometimes doesn't talk about the importance of isolated events. And for example, he used a really good example of someone like Erik Karlsson. So if you look in the aggregate and all those different things that he's able to contribute across the board, but maybe he's not the one guy that you trust in the one isolated play in your D zone to box out a player. This is all to say, aggregate stuff is extremely important, and the Winnipeg Jets coming in 1-1 going home is good in the aggregate. But I'm frustrated because knowing the specifics of how they got that 1-1 is annoying to me because they did it to themselves. They had every power in the world to win this game tonight and to go up 2-0, play like they did yesterday. And I thought the Vegas Golden Knights obviously looked better, but not better to the degree that if the Winnipeg Jets had, stopped throwing pucks at each other and falling over and jumping over the boards and doing the cucaracha on the ice. Like, I don't know what they were doing. It was just so bizarre and like weird hockey. They would have still won this game, even with Vegas playing as fine as they did, which is why I'm irritated and annoyed. So, Connor, what are you thinking coming into Saturday? We have a matinee at 3 p.m. start, going to be the first whiteout since the pandemic. A lot of excitement, a lot of chatter around the city. The vibes are going to be fantastic in the Canada Life Center regardless. We're not going to have people walking out in the third period when the Jets are down 6-0. We'll have, most fans will be sticking around till the end because that's kind of how they rock over here. Not that I necessarily blame people for leaving, but it matters to everyone that's here. And what do you think we're going to see on Saturday?
Saturday is going to be electric between inside the building, the warm-ups, the street party, the bars around the stadium, the bars throughout Winnipeg. Saturday is just going to be insane, especially since it's a 3 p.m. game. And if the Jets win, the party is going to go on all night long. It's going to be amazing. Just to kind of further your point there about how it's still a 1-1 series, right? Dom of The Athletic, I'm not going to try and say his last name, but Dom L of The Athletic has a model. Yeah, I'm not even going to.
It's Lyss Chishin. I watched a YouTube video on it once.
It's just it's just a default Wi-Fi password.
Yeah, there you go. Him. He has a model with playoff probabilities, obviously. And since the Jets stole a game on the road, his model says they have a 56% chance to win this series. So the Jets stealing a game on the road gives them the leg up. And we can sit here and talk about how good Stone and Eichel looked and how they look ready for the playoffs, but the Jets still stole home ice back. And if Saturday's going to be as electric as we think it's going to be between inside the building and out, the Jets have a clear advantage in this series, coming back home to Canada Life for the first whiteout since the pandemic. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Me up.
Brady, you look like you have something you want to say.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I mean, like coming back to Winnipeg, I think that it's very interesting to look at this because from a bird's eye view, stealing a game is phenomenal. Like, just coming back to Winnipeg with a 1-1. If you would have told me that prior to the series, would have been happy. Would have been like, that sounds great. But the real big frustration is that this was such a winnable game, and if it just comes down to playing the same game that the Jets have been playing for the first 4 periods of this series, if you take 2 and you come back here up 2-0, boy oh boy, do the Vegas Golden Knights feel like they, I feel like it just adds a little bit more of, are we really the first in the Pacific? Like, I feel like it adds just that little voice in your head. Whereas now they just have a little bit more momentum, and I completely agree with what you're saying, Connor. I think that the Jets do still have the upper hand in this series, but it is frustrating to see this team, and like the Knights just feel like such a team that has like such a swagger to them that when they get on a roll, and especially with how the Jets are, when they get, when they're on the receiving end of a team that's on a roll, things can get scary. And so I personally I'm still optimistic. We've seen what this team can do. We've seen how well they can play. We've seen that they can dominate the Vegas Golden Knights. And coming back to Winnipeg, just having the last change, much has been said about Rick Bowness's ability to adapt on the fly. You look back at that Dallas Stars playoff run they had to the Cup Finals. I think that, especially given what we've seen here, when certain matchups are against certain lines are against certain other lines. Rick Bowness should be able to look at this and go, okay, there's no goddamn way I'm putting Nemesnikov's line against Eichel, and there's no goddamn way I'm putting the Dubois lineup, the Dubois lineup against the Stevenson Stone line. So I am very I do think that the Canada Life Center has this kind of energy to it that should hopefully pump up the guys, and we all know that motivation and vibes have been such a key importance to this team. But man, I just can't sit here and not look at the missed opportunity to have all of that momentum and have maybe Vegas sitting there questioning, oh, who do we even start this game? We're not going to get that on game 3 now.
I wanted that chance so bad.
But yeah, it's tough. But I foresee the Jets still playing well the rest of this series, but they made it a lot tougher on themselves than it needed to be.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I 100% agree. And going into Saturday, another big factor. I'm not going to speculate on it too much because, God, who knows at this point. But Mike, how big is it going to be if the Jets can get Ehlers back for Saturday to pump up some offense into that top 6?
It'll be massive because as I've seen, a common theme is how talentless, bad kind of the bottom 6 is for the most part. So getting a guy like Ehlers being able to push some of those guys down the list is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I really like the Jets' chances in that game 3 at home whiteout with Ehlers. Him coming onto the ice, the pop that'll happen if he does play is going to be amazing. Trying to keep the vibes high.
100%. So while we're trying to keep the vibe high, obviously everyone can have a lot of feelings about this, but there are a lot of really good things that we can take away from this trip to Vegas, right? Maybe most of it comes from last game and early this game, but nonetheless, now we know what this Jets team is capable of after we watch them punch the faces of the Vegas Golden Knights on Tuesday, which is super exciting. Connor, maybe we'll just wrap it up here. What are you just most freaking pumped about for Saturday?
Seeing the Jets solve the 1-3-1. I'm fired
I'm
up.
not miracles here,
No.
Connor. I'm talking
Oh,
realistic.
If I have to be realistic, no, like Connor Hellebuyck, he didn't have to do anything in game 1. I think he proved in this game. Yeah, you look at the final score, there's 5 goals, but I think he proved that he's here to play, and the Jets still have a goaltending advantage in this series. The Jets are coming home, playoffs for the first time in a few years. They need to solve the 1-3-1. Nikolai Ehlers coming back would be a huge addition for that, because attacking with speed through the neutral zone is one perfect way to beat that. But I think on home ice, you talked about the vibes. You talked about how big that has been. Rick Bowness has basically come in and just made the vibes better, and this team became a playoff team. So with the vibes absolutely sky high on Saturday, I think that's what I'm most pumped for. And I think the Jets actually get back on track and beat Vegas in game 3.
I love to hear it. Brady, thoughts?
What was the question again?
What are you most excited about for Saturday other than hanging out with me in my wedding dress?
Yeah. Oh, to be clear, for the game.
No, not for the game. No, just kidding.
But no, I'm just excited for the vibe around the city. I mean, ever since the playoffs has started, it just feels like the city is a lot more alive. Obviously, it's a little bit of a damper having the snowfall again today and yesterday night. But I'm just excited to see everyone losing their minds. I'm excited to hear the pop in that building. I'm excited to just see people around town and just go yell "Go Jets, go" at anyone who's wearing white. Like, I am just excited for this series to continue. I'm excited to cover a game that isn't going to end at midnight. I can't wait. Honestly, like this Saturday is going to be phenomenal. Monday is going to be a great game too. We're both going to be in the building, and then I guess we're probably going to end up doing these shows in person together. So it should be a lot of fun. So I'm just hoping that the Jets can build off of the vibes and everything that's going on around the city. And maybe get back in the win column, take the series back in their own hands. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited. I'm excited for it to be the weekend. I'm excited for everything. It's just gonna be a lot of fun.
It's already Friday, so that's huge. That's big. I think vibes are a continuous theme here, and it's huge. And I think it's square one right now, right? Like it's anyone's game. It's a level playing field. Jets with a little bit of an upper hand because of the home ice advantage and how goddamn fun it's gonna be. But Mike, I feel like you have some words of encouragement that you want to share to the Winnipeg Jets.
Shit, wait, I think my mic just switched.
It sounded fine.
He was so excited that he just.
I got it. Okay.
Oh God.
I took the mic off the stand. I have a little hype speech for us. My fellow Manitobans, we are angry at the boys today, no doubt. It was sloppy. It was ugly. It wasn't Jets hockey. We know they can be better, and they will be because they're Manitoban strong. If you asked any Jets fan if they'd be tied 1-1 heading back, we all would have taken that. Our boys will now head home to the best playoff atmosphere, and we need you to show up and support. It's a blank slate. It's a 5-game series, and we have home ice advantage. Get ready to shock the world and show them what Winnipeg is made of. Sincerely, a fellow Manitoban that loves his team. Go Jets, go!
That's
Wow.
Let's go.
art.
Let's go.
Incredible.
Fantastic.
Go.
I'm fired. I could run through a wall right now.
I wrote that in the dying seconds when Mark Stone potted that second goal. I was like, I need to end on a positive note.
Brady, could you even say you could run through a table?
Oh yeah, I could run through a table. As
This table is deleted. It's gonna be deleted. Thank you guys for having me.
But I think we are feeling excited now, fired up. Honestly, I'm so fired up. I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to go to bed. I might just go watch Game 1 highlights to feel better about myself. But Connor, Brady, Mike, this has been a ton of fun. And so always great to cover these games that are a little bit disappointing with some good company, so things don't feel so bad. For those of you who stayed up late with us, thank you so much for being here. We had great numbers all the way throughout. Make sure you like the stream on the way out, and also head to Alphabet Sports Collective if you get the chance before heading to bed. And we'll be here after Game 3. You saw one of our guests was in the chat. No spoilers who, but it's gonna be very fun. We have a fellow Game Over host coming on Saturday as well, so we're gonna have a great crew lined up for Saturday, which is gonna be great. Should I wear my veil on the stream? Do you think? I feel like that would be fun. I feel like
If they win, yeah.
If they win, yeah.
That'd be depressing.
If they lose, you get left at the altar.
Mascara coming down there, exactly. My bouquet says married to the game. So I'm literally so ready for this, guys. It's gonna be crazy fun. We're so ready for Game 3. It's gonna be lots of fun. We'll be here covering it. Also make sure you check out Game Over Edmonton and Toronto as well, because they're covering some other games from other matchups throughout the playoffs. Hopefully we'll be seeing Edmonton in round 2 and chatting with them then. But there's lots of hockey left to play before then. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your day if you're listening to this in the morning. And if you are, you're probably smarter than the rest of us who stayed up so late. But have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Saturday.
Like the stream. Okay, bye.
Go Jets, go.
Go, just go.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.